we have Mark here. So he's like, so I'm hoping that he'll tell us a little bit about raw milk, and then he'll also talk to us about the food fight, because he really is the guy that's in the beginning of the food fight. Cindy, shush, move.
No, I don't like to shush.
All right.
Good morning, everybody. Morning.
Morning.
Where'd you go?
I'm going.
I am so happy to be here. I am absolutely so. Anytime we can meet with our customers, it is a really honor. It's an honor and a delight to do that. We do it all the time. But thank you for coming in this morning and there's some familiar faces here from Weston Price and other places. Where's everybody from? Just local here, or you come from far and wide, or local? Wow. My son, when he came up here, what was it last?
I think it was in
2 months ago?
January.
Yeah, January. He walked into this place. He goes, "Oh, I love this." He says, "Dad, you got to go talk to these people." So.
Yeah, our regular delivery guy, his name is Ricky, and he's a cool guy. He's been delivering the whole time we've been buying from these guys.
Yeah.
And he called me and he said, "I'm not," and I said, "Ricky, you're not here." And he said, "No, but that's okay because your milk is coming." And then his son walked in there and said, "I'm not." I said, "What? Really? You guys are delivery guys."
Ricky's got to have a day off once in a while, but he does a lot of work driving 5 days a week for us to deliver milk. All of you, by the way, are invited to come to our Camping with the Cows event, which is happening on May 3rd. It's a third annual event. Bring your sleep bags and tents and whatever, and we've got this runway and pastures and the cows around it, and we have about 400 people this year for a day and a half. And we're going to have a big old outside movie screen. We're going to have music. We're going to have bonfires. We're going to have food. We eat at a big old long table. I'm going to make a big old speech, kind of.
Nice.
The team gets introduced so you know who's producing them up there. You get tours to see the process of what we do from grass to glass, from us to you. And it's really, really neat because you get to see everything about your food. And that's not common in America today where you have no idea. You ask a kid where the food comes from, they say, "Oh, it's a grocery bag or the store or something." They have no idea where their food, their clothes, or anything happens. And as a result, we have a real problem in America, and it's becoming manifestly evident in the immune systems of our children, and our buying habits, and what we do, and how we do what we do, and it's really quite tragic. My background, I was actually a paramedic for 17 years. My background's in medicine. My wife's been a nurse for years. We took over the family farms in 1996 when my grandparents passed away, and decided we were going to farm differently. We were going to connect to consumers and brand ourselves and be organic and do all kinds of neat things that our neighbors weren't doing. And that's what kind of started Organic Pastures Dairy in 2000. I didn't know about raw milk in 2000. I had no idea that raw milk was a market, was even legal or possible. It wasn't on radar screen. It was just something I wasn't thinking about. I was actually producing milk to be sent off to be pasteurized at Organic Valley.
Oh.
But I did not know that Altadena, the big raw dairy in LA, had gone out of business in May of 1999. And Stevie's Naturals had stopped being distributed in May of 1999. So the last drop of certified raw milk in America. I didn't know that.
You know
So,
where the Altadena guy went?
yeah,
Where?
Oakdale,
He did.
Stevie's, yeah.
We used to go down, we started with raw milk.
You're gonna reveal our illegal.
Yep.
Oral.
We used to bootleg it. We used to go
Good
down,
for you.
And we would sneak in when they were milking, and the little Mexican couple,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, would sneak cash in.
Down in Oakdale, yeah.
The children, actually. Now it's a beautiful almond orchard. They're not there anymore.
But we keep a very close relationship with Gabe. You've got Stevie and with Stevie. But the bottom line is, in January, February, March of 2000, we started our dairy. We were shipping milk to be pasteurized. And we weren't pasteurizing the farm, but we were shipping off to be commingled together with everybody else's milk and pasteurized. And we had people showing up at the dairy. Daryl Hannah, Martin Sheen, Martin movie stars.
Wow.
We were impressed, because we were the closest grass-fed, pasture-based organic dairy in California to Los Angeles. So it was a 3-hour drive to us. It was 4 or 5 hours to go to some place in Northern California. So why not drive to the closest? And we had put a website up. And most dairies don't have websites. At least they didn't. So we had these movie stars showing up with ice chests saying, "Fill up the milk." And we don't care what it costs. And then they explained to us really quickly what milk did for them, and that they had allergies to pasteurized milk and all the differences. And I picked up on it really fast. And I connected to the people very quickly. And we started taking our Suburban with ice chests down to Los Angeles. And that was a really interesting event because we'd show up in these back places in Venice. And it was amazing. It was like some kind of an event with a Woodstock kind of thing where people come up and start crying and begging and paying $25 a gallon. It was like, this is madness. Because you would arrive and people would order on the way down. They had the milk reserved for them and saying that they had a kid with this and a kid with that. And they had to have their milk. It was a passionate, crying, really intense thing. It's like, my wife and I were like, what's going on here? This is just crazy. And so that was kind of the unnerving, really emotionally disturbing kind of disruption that happened early on that got me to really be passionate about raw milk. From then, we've grown incredibly every year. And raw milk's not easy to do. In California, it's intensely regulated, heavily investigated. Regulations are pretty fair, but boy, the way they apply those regulations is pretty tough. And so we've kind of, anybody heard the story of the briar patch? You know, the thorns in the briar patch? Well, if it's your briar patch, you know where all the thorns are, it's comfortable. But if somebody else's, you really get poked, right? The bottom line is we've created kind of our own little briar patch where we know where the thorns are and we master the location of the thorns and make it our baby. And that's why it's so uncomfortable for most dairymen to go do raw milk, because it's such a thorny, such a tough, weird, different thing. Nobody manages their milk from grass to glass. They manage it from CAFO to truck and stop to choke, because the rest of the food chain is not managed by them. It's managed by somebody else, takes all the money, all the nutrition, the relationships. So the dairyman is left out there basically not making any money, or having a hard time breaking even, and having no relationships with any consumers. So it's just part of the food chain. And they're so uncomfortable with people touring their farm, answering questions about food safety, running trucks, logistics. It's like, forget that, I'm just going to plant almonds. Almond milk's doing good. Almond milk grew 2,000% in 2 years. In fact, there's a saying in the pasteurized milk community, the future cow is a tree. Because the fluid milk markets are disappearing. There's dry powdered milk going to China like crazy, pasteurized. A lot of butter being made, pasteurized. A lot of yogurts, cheeses, like crazy on pizza. But fluid pasteurized milk is dropping at 2% per year, and they can't stop it. Anyway, they can't stop it. It doesn't matter how much money they spend. In 2011, they spent $35 million in California, the California Milk Advisory Board. We got milk people. 35. It's $1 per person. And for that, they got a 2% decrease of fluid milk consumption. And they're trying to keep it going up. Why that happened, I have a theory. It's unfounded, but I believe it's a solid one. The theory is more people went out and tried pasteurized milk, and more people had allergies and lactose intolerance and said, never again.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. They're abandoning pasteurized fluid milk and going to almond milk, soy milk, that's not a good thing, but going to soy milk, rice milk, hemp milk, no milk, and raw milk. The core is going back to say, I'm on a reel. Stop screwing it up. Because pasteurized milk is not milk.
That's what I
It's
grew
a
up.
product made from milk. And as a result, yeah,
I
but
grew
as a
up on
result,
raw
it's no
milk.
longer really compatible with our gut very well. And some people, not all, but some people have pretty significant allergies to it. And a lot of people have lactose intolerance or maldigestion with it. Raw milk rarely has either of those problems. Rarely. In fact, if you thought about raw milk, you understand that breast milk is raw. It has all of its enzymes. There's 700 different kinds of bacteria in it coming from the mother's clean breast. So raw milk is not sterile. Raw milk is supposed to have enzymes. It's supposed to have beneficial bacteria because that's what builds the immune system of a child, of a baby.
Yep.
And without that, guess what? You have a weakened immune system. You have a threat of death early in life. You need to have a robust immune system. That's why raw milk builds immune systems in children. It's because it's such an incredible medical food with all these great stories coming out of it. The stories are backed up by great science coming out of Europe, by the way. Huge studies done. The Parsifal study, the Gabriela study, the Pastures study, Tom Barr's work, von Musius' work, all this stuff. The International Milk Consortium Group out of UC Davis. All those studies back up the testimonial, anecdotal information. The fake stories you've got to tell about raw milk. Back it up with science is exactly why it is that you respond the way you do with raw milk. So it's a very interesting emerging new market. It's not easy to do, but if you do it and you do it well, it's extremely rewarding and very, very beneficial to the consumer. There's an organization called the Raw Milk Institute, which has been formed in the last 3 years. And it's got 5 farmers now that are listed with the Raw Milk Institute. There's 3 that are pending right now, including Charlotte Fallon will be listed here in the next month or so. She's got
That's not just in California?
all of the United States and Canada. And we share in a common community all the information we learn. We learn what we learn at Organic Pastures, what they learn at other dairies. We learn everything together, and we also have people at the University of Davis that help us too. So it's very interesting. There's a community of people getting together to share the best technologies, the best information, the best conditions to produce raw milk, to have the best long shelf life product. We're doing things now that's never been done before. Things like milk filter sock testing. The studies done in Europe show that the milk that goes through the milk filter, which there's a filter in line that goes from the cow before it gets to the chiller and you bottle it, that milk filter is kind of a cotton sock. It catches a lot more bad bugs than any other place in the system because the fluid milk is actually so clean it's hard to test for bad bugs because they're so rare. If you test over here, it's probably over here. But the milk filter sock, or the milk filter, actually aggregates and tends to collect bad bugs in it. So if you test the filter, you tested your milk, but it's like 10 times more sensitive. So we test the milk filter in addition to our milk product because guess what? We don't want to surprise anybody. We want to have just the beneficial bacteria and just the enzyme, just the stuff coming out of the cow, not some funky thing that came in that's going to cause bad news for somebody. And as a result, I mean, our food safety plans are so rock solid. I'll never claim perfection, but I'll tell you something. They're so rock solid, the variability is so low now because of the learning we've learned in the last 15 years, and especially the last 3 or 4 years, that there's rarely going to be a surprise. It's very exciting. You see it coming so fast, so early. We're testing 200 times a month. The state doesn't require us to test ever. The state tests once a month. We've got 200 times more data than the state does, plus we got milk filters we test all the time, and the track record of data is incredible. So that's just to give you kind of a sense of where we're going with this in terms of really passionately, religiously, aggressively attacking the food safety side. That's the words they like to use. There's basically prevention of disease by making sure you have the good bugs, not the bad bugs. And a lot of that's not the testing, but it's the conditions you keep your cow in. You can test all day long and test for bad bugs and have bad bugs. But what are you doing to make sure that they aren't there? That's the food safety plan, which is about putting your cows in sunshine, on pastures, making sure that they're laying down on clean almond shells, that they're going to lay down on something, not a bunch of wet manure. Making sure that these cows are impeccably clean when they're actually milked. The conditions of where the cows are is what we actually test, because the test just reveals what's in it. We want to make sure what's in it is right. So we do a very special conditions management, and that is revealed in the test data we have. The universities are looking at this going, I want to be the one to write the story. I want to be the one to write the article. I want to have that data from Raw Milk Institute. And we're not giving it to them. We actually have our own PhDs doing their own articles and their own internationally published studies to promote and understand the positive re-emergence of raw milk after 100 years of oppression. So it can be a viable, value-added product for farmers and save farmers. If you look at the number of farms in 1990, which is 23 years ago, there were 600,000 dairies in America today. Any guesses how many there are today? 1/12 of that, 48,000. California went from 2,200 dairies to about 1,450 dairies. Very interesting that when that happened, very few cows were lost. It was just bigger dairies had more of the cows. So still have 9 million cows, but on fewer dairies. So it went from 9 million cows and 600,000 dairies to 50,000. It's like whoosh, big dairies congregating.